Here we go. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And guess what? Today we have Miss TeeJay, and oh my gosh. See, I am Blangelica. I am founder of I Am My Biggest Fan and store owner of Blangelica's Boutique. And as you know, every time I have an interview, it's just more stories coming over to our table, to your table, into your home. And why not hear stories that do matter, that actually just impact others to become their biggest fan? And today we have Miss TeeJay. Miss TeeJay, welcome. Tell us where you're from and what are you doing in your side of the world today?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really feel blessed today. I am from the great state of Iowa, not to be confused with Idaho, but um, I live right on the Mississippi. This year we've had quite a bit of flooding, but we are all well. And I live in a beautiful historic town. Um, I just turned 50, so I'm pretty excited to start my 50s. I think it's going to be the best years yet. So, yeah, I right now, I have quite a busy schedule. I work as a full-time finance specialist during the day, take care of both my elderly parents, and started my company, the District Connection, with Soul Hygiene about 4 years ago. And so I work all of that at night, all my podcasting, social media, and everything at night. So, and I have the fourth grandbaby on the way, so that's that's what I'm doing right now, and it keeps me busy. It definitely keeps me busy.
I love that. I love that. And it's so beautiful to have you in. But how does that make you feel? Like just evolving and having busy time, but is it really busy sometimes? Because we have so much fun. How does that
Mm.
make you feel?
Well, here's the thing. There's quite a bit of story behind where I am today. So if you can give me a few minutes, I can tell you a little bit about me
Sure.
and how I got here. Um, I went through about 25 years of trauma. And when I was 18 years old, I went to my first party. And I'll run through this quick, but it is a story. If you subscribe to my Facebook, that's I kind of expound on quite a bit of it. But when I was 18, went to my first party, got slipped something, and I was assaulted by multiple men that night. And it kind of took away my womanhood, put me in a different frame of mind. I grew up in a very sheltered Christian home, so I didn't know much about the world. And no blame to my parents whatsoever. They're wonderful people, kind and compassionate, loving. Um, but it did change the way I thought and the way I perceived myself. I feel like I lost my worthiness to who I was as a woman. Um, so I did get married and had my first baby. He left when they were 5, 3, and 1, and he was kind of my protector through those years. And so that's when the PTSD, the nightmare started after that. And I went through, a good 20 more years of multiple relationships with men who took advantage of my kindness and, you know, no boundaries because I really didn't know what those were. And then it culminated in 2019 when my husband at the time left under, it was pretty bad circumstances. I was on the precipice of ending my life. And, I just cried out to God and I was like, if this is the heartbreak and the life that I'm going to have for the rest of my life, I don't want to live here. I don't want to be here. Just take me home. And that still small voice that he gives us in our conscious mind said, I'm not done with you. I have a purpose. You have my light within you. You've always had my light. Now you need to use it. And it was at that moment when I had some veteran friends who had PTSD and they saw that's what I had in me and they helped me kind of understand. And God just said, you know what? Let's get up. Let's go. And it was at that moment that I looked back at everything I had been through and I said, I'm no longer going to be a victim of my circumstance. I'm not going to be a victim of my past. And God gave me victory over that. And from then on, I've been on a healing journey, and it culminated in 2023 when I started my podcast. And this year, I started soul motivation coaching. I feel like you can go from victim to survivor, but there's a point where you can go to be a champion for people. And that's where I'm at right now is, I want to help people come out of that victimized mindset and be victorious over it because everyone has a purpose. But when our minds are so cluttered with trauma and they're so cluttered with all these negative thoughts, the truth cannot break through. The light cannot break through. But once, you know, I call it soul motivation because our insides should match what our outside is. And I feel like everyone is beautiful because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. But sometimes we are quite ugly on the inside. And soul motivation, soul scrubbing is about taking accountability and responsibility, even when things weren't our fault. But because we're staying in a victimized mindset, that is on us. And we need to switch that. We need to have courage and be brave to say, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be victorious over this. So that's kind of my story in a little short format about where I am now and what keeps me going.
I love that. And by the way, 50, you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate
What
that.
what healing modality or mindset shift did actually change everything for you?
I think, the first thing that I always say I did and what I feel really needs to be done when someone truly wants to heal is you have to forgive. Um, and that's a very hard concept for some people, especially when there have been horrible things done to them. But forgiveness is not for the people who did the wrong to us. Forgiveness is for yourself so that you can move on, so that you can heal, so that you can, draw that line in the sand and move forward. So I think forgiveness is one of the first things, and looking back and not regretting. I look back on everything that I went through, and God has shown me blessings through all of it. And if we look for the positive, if we look for the good in life, we are going to find it. I think that a lot of people become depressed or, victimized in their minds because all they see is bad, because that's all they're looking for. They're looking for the next thing to fall, the next trauma to happen, because that's all they've been through. But that's not the case. That's not, you don't have to be in that mindset. And for me, that's what switched everything was the forgiveness and looking back and saying, you know what, I'm not going to hold my past in regret. I'm not a victim anymore.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. How do you help others to rise in their own power?
I think that is, it's different for everyone, right? Because everyone comes from a different point in their trauma or a different point in their life. I've talked to, and I mostly deal with women who are between 40 and 60 because that's kind of the, where I'm at, and that's what I understand the most. But a lot of them have been through different circumstances. Some of them it's just they need a little bit of soul scrubbing to understand business or to understand, where they're at in life, or, quite a few are going through menopause and their emotions are all over the board. But I think that for me, helping them understand where they are at helps me get them to their next spot. I have everyone fill out like a sheet of what is one thing that you want to change in your mind within here. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle or your political or your religious. I don't have to agree with it because I love your soul. You're a human being. You are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And so I try to get them to understand their initial step of where they are at. And then we move on from there. And so it's different for everyone. So there's not one, mold fits fits everyone type deal.
I like that. What advice do you have for someone struggling to believe that they are worthy of love?
Ooh, I actually had talked to someone probably about a year ago who was struggling with that. Um, and I think I struggled with that for quite a long time. You know, I am a faith-based soul motivator. I believe in God. And I think the first thing that I would do is show them how much God loves them, how much that, you know, he is there for them even when they're lonely, even when they're sad. He always says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I know that for me, when I first started my healing journey, that's what helped me. That's just knowing, you know, I'm not married now. I don't have any intention of getting married anytime soon. Um, and to really help someone know that they're loved is to say, hey, you're never alone. You know, no matter where you go or what you do, God is always with you. And I do, if they are faith based or they believe in God, I do help them out with scriptures out of the Bible. If not, you know, we run through a few questions. And, you know, where are you? Why do you believe this? I created my own technique called soul scrubbing, which is I have the 7 days of soul scrubbing, which I give for free. And then I have my 30 days of soul scrubbing for the Christian man, the Christian woman, and then one for people who, you know, just are not that religious. And the technique is just simple questions: who, what, when, where, why, you know. And I say, run through those questions and we go through those together. And the how is not a question, it's how am I going to move on? How am I going to change my circumstance? I don't think it's a point of trying to convince someone they're worthy of love, because I don't think we can do that. Everything that love is, that person has to believe. And I don't think there's any convincing another person can do for them, because it's all within here. I can show them how God loves them. I can show them that they're never alone. I can show them that their family is there for them. But in order for someone to truly believe that they are worthy of love, they have to love themselves first.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I mean, self-love brought me here. So to me, talking about love, it's like so beautiful. I love talking about love.
Yeah.
So so I'm like the self-love queen and self-love all the way, but love has opened up so many doors in my life, and it's because I believed in myself so much and I loved myself more and I love myself more to that level. And that's what I teach my clients as well too. It's like the more you love yourself, the more you will become the best version of yourself. It's a beautiful thing. And yes, a lot of people think you know, once they go based in their journey and they learn how to learn love themselves more, they realize that they will stop looking at love in the wrong places.
Well, and I think the other thing is, like, for me, when I started learning how to fill myself up, I had more to pour out. You know, we can't pour from an empty vessel. So when you love yourself and you truly learn what love is in the light of God, you're able to shine that love into other people. You know, but unless you really know what it is, all you're giving them is empty words. You know, love is an action, it's not a feeling. So when you love someone, you are expressing that in your action. And that's why, for me, I look at it like, you know, I have been divorced a few times, but I look back now and I'm like, love was never an action. It was just empty words. So I'm glad that I learned what love is.
Oh, I love that. How did healing and self-love shift your relationship with money?
Well, that's a good question. I was a single mom for a lot of years. So I grew up very poor. My parents were not people who had a lot of money, but they were the biggest givers with the biggest heart, and that's where I learned, you know, my compassion and my servitude. But um, I was blessed 18 years ago to go into the financial sector. I am a financial specialist for, you know, in corporate finance, and I've been in that for 18 years. And I think when I shifted to a healing point where I wasn't in trauma. I The money aspect kind of coincided with who I am as a person. Because when you don't feel like you're worthy of anything, then you don't have any value that you put on yourself as well. I struggled with that for many years because when I grew up, it was money was evil. Like money was prideful. And so for a couple years after I started healing, it was like, I want to go into business, but I don't want to ask for money. Like, what is my worth compared to putting a value on that? It took me a while to wrap my brain around that. But when you do, and you get to that point, and God says, you are worthy, everything starts flowing. I created the Soul and Sense, which is Soul and CENTS, for my women, kind of as a financial guide, especially if you're single or you have 401ks or IRAs or whatever it is. It's kind of a financial guide for them to go through, but it's also encouraging. It gives them Bible verses. It helps them understand that money is not evil if used in the right way. So for me, God has helped me to use my um, knowledge of finances in my day job, and what I went through as a very poor single mom, to really help women understand, where they are now. And you know what? Let's get back on our feet. Let's do this the right way. So yeah, it's that was one of the hardest things, one of them that I had to really understand about myself on my healing journey.
Awesome. So let Miss TJ tell us something. Where can people here watching us today can find you on social media?
Oh my goodness. I have so many social medias. My regular Facebook is TeeJay Hayes. So that's my regular Facebook. I also have a group called Soul Hygiene, and Soul Hygiene is one word. And I also have a page called Soul Hygiene. The page is mostly for coaching. If you want to I do have a free hour that you can sign up for just to meet, to talk, kind of get to the nitty gritty of what you're looking for. I can be found currently on Paperbell, which is it's paperbell.me/soul hygiene. And you can go on there and you can schedule a time to talk. I love having those, that's part of where I had to learn what my value was with money, was starting to charge as a coach. But I also understand that people can't always afford it. And for me, I want people not to be stopped by what the price is. So you can look at the prices. If you don't think you can afford it, still reach out to me. I'll always work with people, especially if if I can add value to them and really help them get through, whatever processes they're trying to break, or move on, what goals they have. So I have that. I also have Instagram, soul hygiene underscore, and then the real underscore Miss TJ. So I'm all over. I'm on LinkedIn as well, tjhayes.soulhygiene. So you can find me everywhere. If you want to just email me personally and reach out, my email is thepeacefulpurpose@gmail.com.
Perfect. So you heard her. Just start following. It doesn't matter which one is your preference. You pick, you choose, or maybe all of them. And with that being said, any offers? Yeah, I know you mentioned an hour. That's really amazingly good. That's really good. Any offers, events, gifts that you're actually sharing with the audience tonight?
Um, what I can do is if they email me, I can actually send them the 7 days of soul scrubbing. I do offer that for free. All I ask is that you do it intentionally with an open mind, because it's not something that you can race through. It's something that has to be intentional. Soul scrubbing is very deep. It's accountability. it's forgiveness, it's all those things that some people shy away from. So I do have that for free. You can email me and I can send that. Or like I said, you can go to Paperbell right now and you can schedule a free hour with me as well to, just talk about where you're at.
Right. And oh, da 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 da. Please, drums, drum, 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 drum. Rrrm. If you could finish this sentence, the world needs more of.
God.
Oh, thank you. It's
Yeah.
such a nice to talk to you and meet you personally and bring you on board to I really appreciate for you letting me interview you today. It's been amazing. I love connecting. Everyone, please reach out to Miss TJ. Connect with her, book a call with her, go into her group, just start connecting with like-minded individual. If she's someone that you are actually attracted to, more than being, please do so. We're here to serve you. We're here to empower you to become the best version. And for the ones that don't know me, my name is Blanca Angelica Rivera, and I go by Blangelica. That's my stage name, but that's another story for another time. And, and I'm store owner of Blangelica's Boutique here located in Auburndale, Florida, serving globally. And oh my gosh, we do a holistic approach to happiness. And this is one of the most beautiful things that I do is connecting with people around the world and bringing their story to life into your table. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, Miss TJ, for allowing me to interview
Thank
you
you for
tonight.
having me. I feel very blessed. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.